Goals from Ramsey and Rodgers knocked Tottenham out of the FA Cup. That's 2 exits from the domestic competitions in the space of 4 days for Big Ange Postecoglou, Daniel Levy, and Tottenham Hotspur. They did grab a late consolation goal, but it was too much, too little, too late. Tottenham crash out. Villa roll on to the next round. Hit the like and the share button. Make sure you're subscribing. Let's go. The weekend's FA Cup ties are over. One remaining tomorrow night. I think there's one tomorrow, if I might be mistaken. But the games for Saturday and Sunday are over. We know who progresses to the next rounds. Some shock results with Chelsea and Liverpool going out. But I don't think anybody was shocked with tonight's result. Excuse me. I think most people expected Tottenham to lose. The mentality is poor. The quality is low. And the excuses have already been made. So are any of us shocked? Are any of us surprised? Let me know in the comment section below or in the live chat if you're watching us live or watching the playback. Leave your comment below because I don't think many people are. It was a terribly poor start to the game. Conceding within a minute. Miles and miles of space in the central areas for Villa. Poor goalkeeping. And for the rest of the first half, barring a good opportunity for Son that he should have scored and buried, the lack of intensity, the lack of aggression, desire, bravery from Tottenham was so low. You would have thought after an embarrassing, pathetic performance away at Liverpool, where, yes, you're playing the best team in the world, but you didn't lay a glove. You barely had a chance. You almost didn't try to score. You thought that Spurs would start this game, with the bit between their teeth, try and prove doubters wrong, restore a bit of pride into the squad, into the local area, into Tottenham fans all around the world. But they didn't. The first 45 minutes was drab. The second half, a much better start from Spurs. They were asking questions. They were committing to the press. They were winning the ball back and looking to move it forward. But the quality of Villa prevailed, and just before Rashford and Asensio made their way onto the pitch, they grabbed the second. Rodgers got it, who was by far and away the best player on the pitch. I thought we had a phenomenal night. He really, really did. Then they probably should have scored a couple more goals. Villa, a late consolation, good cross from Kulusevski, a really good finish by Tell. The only thing he really didn't, up until that goal, I was watching it thinking, well, 2 games in for Tell, and he's a player and a talent that I've watched a number of times at Bayern, an exciting talent for football. But I was thinking 2 games in, not really seeing too much from him that has made me frustrated that United didn't get him specifically. But a very, very good finish from that cross. But as I say, it was too much, too little, too late. It was over. It was done. And Spurs have only got themselves to blame. I understand there's injuries, but there's loads of other teams that have injuries and they're not as bad as this. And I want to read you a statistic. This is the 21st defeat in the last 46 games for Tottenham. And I understand that Mickey van der Ven, and I understand that Romero are out. There are injury problems there. There's no doubt. Dragusin. And tonight probably isn't the best example because they're playing a very good Villa team away from home. But even with more of their players available, we've seen defeats like today. And it's another year where Tottenham will not be winning a domestic trophy. They do still have Europe. And I'm not going to write that off before the games are played. It's just not the way that I personally operate. But you could hear the fans at the ground singing for Daniel Levy to go. I would say 50% of the fan base want Big Ange Postecoglou out. It's becoming a toxic place again, indeed, at Tottenham Hotspur. Before we go to some of your comments, I want to congratulate, by the way, Villa. I thought they were phenomenal tonight. And look, they haven't had the best league campaign in comparison to last year. Not far away from the top 5 positions. but their progression in the Champions League, their performance tonight, they're a team that's going from strength to strength, great ambition, bringing in the likes of, Asensio and Rashford in January, and their fans are really excited. And I was just sort of listening to their fans, kind of watching it kind of play out today, and they really are excited about the future. So a big congratulations to them. Lol, Rashford lost 1-0. I thought Rashford looked really sharp when he came on. Really, really sharp indeed. Took some players on, was pressing. I was thinking, where was that press at United? Oh, but look, he's gone now, and I doubt he'll be back. So you have to wish him all the very best in the world, unless he's playing, of course, my team, Manchester United. Then I wish him no luck whatsoever at all. But look, they're out. What do you think? Do you think he should go? I said this before about this. I understand the logic behind sacking Big Ange. I think that there needs to, and I'm not talking about today specifically, more adaptability in certain games has definitely been needed. More performances like the Brentford game, I think, were needed. And that's where tonight frustrated me watching it, because the opening minute where they conceded, they gave Villa the freedom of the park. And maybe you can blame players, maybe, but it's too regular in Ange's system. For me personally. However, sacking him, does it fix Tottenham? No. The board are the problem. But remember, you can moan about Levy, you can moan about ENIC all you want. But if you buy shirts, if you go to games, if you subscribe, if you follow their Twitter account, if you do anything that generates money for them or engagement, which they make money from, you're never going to get rid of them. Why would they sell? They only care about making money from you, and you give them money. What does your moaning do? What does your protesting do? Absolutely nothing. So, look, I'm not going to tell Spurs fans what they should and shouldn't do about the ownership of their football club. That is down to them. But, protest all you want. I don't think it's a bad thing. I just don't think it's going to have any impact whatsoever in the long, medium, or the short term. Let's have a look at some of these comments that are coming through here. And I usually win something in my second season. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not mocking that yet. And the biggest reason why I'm not mocking it is my club might come across them in the Europa League at some point. So I ain't mocking it. I'm keeping my powder very dry on that one. Because imagine my face is on camera mocking what you're saying here, Darren, which you're entitled to do, my friend, just for them to knock my club out of the Europa League. Couldn't do it. Won't do it. I'll wait. I'll wait, thank you. I will wait. Just go to show how crap United is. Get out whilst you can. See, I look at it from the other direction. I think it's the pressure that's on the pressure that is applied to you at the football club reduces a player's ability, which in the same breath means that when you deliver at Manchester United, it shows how superior you are to most other football players. Matt here says Tottenham get battered everywhere they go. I did feel like, do you know what? I know you're there's a little banter there. I did actually think that 2-1 was a little flattering to Tottenham somewhat. But maybe that is just me. Chicken standing on a basketball. Lol. Even when Van der Ven and Romero, we're still crap, is what Slick Gossip says here. Yeah, and I hear a lot of Spurs fans say that, if I'm being honest. I hear a lot of Spurs fans say that. So, yeah, I'm not going to overly disagree. Fresher Villa made the difference and got it very wrong to put Tell on the wing where he clearly was not happy and could be sacked, but what does it change? Yeah, listen, I hear you. In the long term, what does it change? If you don't start operating differently at board level, which we all know is the biggest problem, you'll always end up back in the same place again. You might get some short-term gratification. Fans might be singing, we've got our Tottenham back again for 10 games, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. But you will invariably, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. So I don't think sacking the individual is insane. But the idea that just sacking him will fix Tottenham, it's insane. The same as just sacking Enzo at Chelsea. Insane. The same as just sacking managers at United without making fundamental change at board level on the way we operate. It's insanity. And the proof's in the pudding. There's no proof that just sacking any of these managers will work when you factor in the context of how we're run. So I completely agree with you on that. I really, really do. Terry, I feel sorry for Spurs. Wallahi. They don't win trophies. They have good players like Son and Romero. The club is allergic to winning trophies. Listen, they have been for a long time now. They used to win them on a regular basis, but I think that's about the mindset the club sets at the highest level. Jacob's going to join me on the show now. Jacob, commiserations, my friend, on going out. What do you think went wrong today from a Tottenham point of view?
It's hard to say when it feels like everything keeps continually going wrong. I do agree with the super chat you had up earlier that says it was weird to start Tell on the left and Son through the middle. I clearly thought it would have been Tell through the middle and Son on the left because I'll be honest, Son for me is better on the left. He hasn't really been that good through the middle, but I just feel like I can't even say, oh, well, we didn't really have healthy center backs like that. I mean, neither did they. They lost their center back pretty early on in the game. That save from, or excuse me, the non-save from Kingski in the first 62 seconds, I think it was, 63 seconds, somewhere around there. That you just got to be better there. He's a young guy making young guy mistakes, so I'm not actually surprised to see him make that mistake, but it was just one of those, like, I played keeper for 20 years. If it hits you in the gut like that, you can't let it bounce off you and roll into the back of the net. So to me, that was pretty poor on his end. I'll be honest, I thought he made up for it in the rest of the game. He kind of kept us alive when it should have really been 5-0 at one point. And he was kind of the only guy. Between him and Jed Spence, it seemed like they were the only two players really trying. Matthias Tell looked like he was trying a lot. He gave the ball away a lot, but he did look like he was trying a lot. At this point, it's just how many more L's are we going to take before this thing really just explodes? And it's been on fire for a minute, and we've all been expecting the explosion soon. But for me, it's kind of like, sure, sack Ange. I don't know what you get out of it. I understand why you would want to sack him. There's problems I had with what he did today. At one point today, when we were down, it just seemed like at that 2-0, they just were accepting it for a while there. That they were just okay with that too. And to me, I struggle with just accepting that. Part of me was like, just throw the kids on and let them get something out of this, because the senior players or whoever's been starting, I thought Lucas Bergvall had a pretty poor game. I thought he took the ball off our own players a few times. Bringing on Basuma brought me no joy, no hope. So really, from the starting 11 to the bench to the management to the substitution, at every level, I think is what went wrong for Tottenham. And I do love the whole everyone bringing up, I always win in my say. People forget that the media asked a question, number one, and then number two, he was correcting an incorrect statement that was made within the question that was asked. So when he says, I always win in my second year, it was because the reporter said, you usually win in your second year. He says, no, I don't usually, I always win. So he's just a little bit of a correction, and it wasn't like he was lying, but he might have to have an addendum. Is that what it's called? An addendum to that?
Yes.
Notion. Yes. Yeah, he might need something there, but I'll be honest, just
sitting here. No, I agree. I do. Listen, I want to take nothing away from Aston Villa. I thought there were some excellent individual performances. There were some excellent moments from them tonight. The bit that got to me, I thought you were pathetic against Liverpool. Not to lose, because Liverpool always hard, but I felt like you took no risks. You didn't go. I watched Sean Strickland fight last night, and this guy's nose is broken. I'm not a particular fan of his antics, but as a fighter, his nose is broken. He's finished in there. He's 4 rounds down, and he's going out swinging. He's trying to knock his opponent out. He actually gets his nose hurt even more. He loses the 5th round. He moves on. I like that from an athlete, whether it's fighting, whether it's football. You're 2-0 down. You go 3-0 down. You might as well go for broke and lose 6-0 rather than do nothing and lose 4. And I thought the first 45 minutes tonight, there was no reaction to that. It was almost as timid, as uninspired, as sort of flaccid as we saw the other night. Why do you think some of the Spurs players are finding it hard to sort of get up for these games at the moment, mate?
You know, my initial thought is that there's just been so many minutes. I mean, I think it's at this point there was a tweet that I was looking at. I'm trying to see if I can find it real quick, but it was someone talking about the amount of games and the amount of time that we've played. Now, I'm not saying that that's an excuse. I'm just saying with this style added on 20 more games because of European competitions, and we made it past the first round of the Carabao Cup, which we didn't do in Ange's first season. There was a lot more games, 30 more games, that a lot of these players, I just think that, sure, you can chalk it up to the tactics and the system, but we're still taking the most fouls and the most contact from anyone in the Premier League. And I think that mixed with the amount of running that is required in the system, it's just kind of a perfect storm for what we're seeing right now. Again, I've never once said it's completely all on Ange Postecoglou, these non-contact injuries. I believe a lot of it is down to players and how you take care of yourself off of the pitch. Because, I mean, you look at the best athletes around the world, and they run and they play and they don't miss games, but they're not getting hurt. But you're seeing a lot of teams dealing with a lot of injuries. Aston Villa is dealing with a lot of injuries themselves. But you still look at the strength that they had in that first 11. It was probably their strongest 11 they could field. And then who they brought off the bench. Asensio looked absolutely class, and I haven't, this is his first real taste of the Premier League. So they've got a better squad, a better 11. So I'm not surprised with it, but as far as the players not being up for it, it's like those lulls where they look up for it and then they get punched a few times and they go down. Kind of like what you were saying with Sean Strickland. He refused to go down. He broke his nose. He reset it there in the middle of the round. So it is the kind of notion that I agree with of, you got to take your lumps and you got to keep going forward. And that's what we try to do. But it's just very clear and obvious that we can't continue to beat the same drum hoping that the tune's going to change, because we've been beating the drum and it's been the same tune more or less. And it's like just different variations of, like, sometimes we look more up for it for 50 minutes. Sometimes it's 20 minutes. Sometimes it's 10. Sometimes it's none. Sometimes it's 70. So it's like the inconsistencies in how good the players or how hard that the players try. I thought that they tried today, for what it's worth. Outside of when there was a spell where we went down 2-0 and we did look like we were just going to accept it. But outside of that, I thought that, I just look at players like Jed Spence, even Matthias Tell. He came in here 2 games, 2 L's, and he actually got on the score sheet. I feel a little bad for him, but there was never a quit in him that I saw. Yeah, he gave the ball away a few times. Yeah, some of his first touches weren't great. Challenges were a little sloppy, but you could see that he kept trying to go forward. He kept trying to say, let's bring the the front line of our press, let's bring it up. You could see him signaling to Kulu, like, let's go press in pairs, and that created a little something for us. Now, I think a little bit of it too is Aston Villa was kind of like, all right, we got this in the bag. So they took their foot off of the gas pedal a little bit, and we did what we should have done, which was capitalize on it. I feel really bad for Mikey Moore and Kulusevski. We should have had an assist there from Son. I don't know why he shoots it directly at one of the best keepers in the world right now. And Emi Martinez, you shoot it right at a keeper, he's got to save it. I don't care how bang it is or how fast it is. I just thought that was pretty poor from Son. And it's, again, one of those things where, why was he through the middle? Why was that not Tell in the middle of the pitch that received that beautiful pass from Mikey Moore, who, again, gets hooked at halftime for what? I didn't even think that he was our worst player. That's on Ange too.
That was my next question. I see a lot of Spurs fans frustrated by that. Has there been any word? Is there any sort of inclination as to why Moore, who was one of your better performers in the first half, was dragged off at halftime?
I can't say I've seen anything. I can't say that I've really been looking for it, but it was clear that it was a tactical switch that Ange thought would help us to put Kulu there in the wing and get Basuma into the midfield to kind of, it really looked like in that midfield, yet again, like Liverpool, we couldn't stop anything. We couldn't control anything. Every second pass was getting lost in the midfield. If it even made it to the front line for Son or Tell or anyone, it was like, wow, we're doing something. And then it's just continually back to that. The midfield can't control the game the way that I think Ange wants them to. You saw it versus Liverpool with Basuma and Pop Matasar. They couldn't control the ball. Pop Matasar comes on, and he couldn't even pass the ball either. To me, it's just an amalgamation of all these players failing at a time in which Ange is trying to get something from them. And at this point, it's like, I don't know why he's even trying anymore. If I was him, and I'm less of a man than Ange, I would have walked from this job a long time ago. You got all the fans every week, travel, home, they're all talking shit to you. It's a toxic environment. It is an environment that has nurtured bang average players, that has nurtured this losing mentality and has been okay with accepting mediocrity in the sense that, oh, well, Arsenal didn't win it either, so we're okay. I'm tired of that. And I won't be surprised if later on this year, as you get Tottenham fans who are Liverpool till July, because we got Liverpool pretty close to the end of the season, and who knows if they might fall off. You know, they can't even beat Plymouth, losers. But outside of that, I just think that, you know, we're in such a damning place that you're seeing these results that are indicative of where we are, and I think where we have been, and Ange is failing to pull us out of it. There were times where I thought he could and would, and by all intents, sometimes you think he should, but right now he's just unable to do it, and it's actually pretty sad.
Well, what you just said there, I think, is really important, because there's a lot of people that say, and I've heard this from people that fully back Ange, right through to people that are neither Ange in or out. They just don't see the view is, well, whoever we bring in, they think you're going to remain as bad and win no trophies because of the way the club's run. And I understand that train of thought. The problem you've got is that your current form in the Premier League, your current form, if you look at if you add your last couple of cup games into this, if you keep playing like this, you could theoretically go down. And that's something you have to go. I genuinely believe if you keep Ange until the end of the season, I think he takes you down. I feel that there are certain players look like they're done. Half the fan base is gone. He can't talk with his eyes looking at a journalist anymore. And I'm not having to go at him for it. All banter aside, I just almost feel like what you need is a bit of a shot in the arm, because, and I get everyone's point that shot in the arm might only last 6 months, might only last a season, then he'll fall off again. But on a real level, I think you could get relegated with this manager.
You know, I scoffed at the idea weeks and weeks ago when they were like, someone said that we're, you know, creeping up to a relegation battle, or we were in a relegation battle. I was like, it's big 2025 coming up. Ain't no way we're in a relegation battle. And it's quite sad that now I'm just hoping for that road to 40, because before the season I would have, you know, absolutely laughed at that notion. But mathematically speaking, there's 14 games left in the Premier League. You win 5 of them. Now we're above 40. I think that's 41 points, if I'm not mistaken, which is sad that I've been doing this mental math and this mental gymnastics to find some way to sleep at night. But the reality is we could still lose 9 of the next 14 and win 5 of them, the 5 after that, and we'll still reach that 40 points. So I don't know that if we beat United next, who we got. If we beat Sean next,
yes, it's a massive. A few people are saying, Terry, do you have the same energy for your club? I do. If I want Amorim to stay, but if Amorim got into such a slump to where, and again, you've got to put the context here. If Amorim had his head down in every interview, we actually are winning more games than we were 7 or 8 games ago. It's the results we're looking at here as well. I would look at it, and if I truly believed he was going to take us down, I would talk about the sacking of Ruben Amorim. I don't think he will. I'm just looking at the scenario at Tottenham looks different in the sense of Man United with Amorim at the beginning of something. And I still think there's enough enthusiasm in the squad and in the manager to get us through whatever we need to get through. I look at Ange's body language. I look at half your players. I look at the way your fan base is. And I just think this could end really, really badly. Now, you win 2 or 3 of the next games, then I don't think you've got to worry about it, as you say. But if you suddenly go on a 3-game, 4-game losing streak as you did before, suddenly then you're moving into nearly 30 games played. And it does depend on the teams below you. It does depend on whether or not, just looking at the league table now, depends on the results of West Ham and Everton and Wolves, etc. But if they were to win a couple of those games and suddenly you're only a couple of points away from that drop zone, I just think that's the only rationale I would probably use for getting rid of Big Ange now and at this point. Is something just seems a little odd. And I'm really going by his body language that he doesn't look at a journalist. Even when I've watched him on Tottenham's channel, like your own official channel, and that's normally a safe place for managers because they're your journalists. They're not going to throw you under the bus. He's still the same. He heads down. There's no sort of enthusiasm.
That notion. He's been doing that since last year when things weren't as heated up as they are now. That is a little bit of just how he is as a person. And to me, I chalk that up to, I mean, if you know anything about Japanese culture, which he spent a lot of his life there, it's actually impolite to look someone in the eyes when they're talking to you. So it's more of I think it's a habitual thing that it's different cultures, man. It is true. You look him in the eyes, you're disrespecting me. So, he comes from a different walk of life. He acts differently. I don't judge him for any of that. I judge him for the results and the substitutions and the management of such things. And a lot of the things that he says, bro, I'll be honest, like, big media, they're not always there to help you. They're there to get the next thing that's going to click. The dude is still eating good off of that liner. I always win in my second year. He's still sitting there sipping Mai Tais and eating caviar because he feels like a big man on campus, because they still talking about it. Everybody's still talking about, oh, Ange always wins in his second year. To me, I don't look at that body language thing and necessarily say this is makes me think X or Y. It really is I don't know. I just don't think it matters at all. It's kind of like the hands in his pockets. People want a manager flailing around like a wacky inflatable flailing arm tube man. But I saw Emery doing that versus us when we were piping him 4-1. It doesn't change anything if you're flailing your arms around or you're looking down with your hands in your pockets. I know as a player, some people would say, how do you look? And you look to your manager and he looks like that. How do you get inspired? To me, I would say as a man and as a professional, as a guy who you are your own brand in 2025 as a player, you are your own brand. I don't need no other grown man doing this with his arms to make me do my damn job. You do your damn job because you've been working at it, because you want to be the best you can at your position. That's what I look for. So if you're a player who needs a guy flailing around on the touchline like a cheerleader, want to put some pom-poms on him and a little skirt, okay then. Maybe you need to go to a different sport or find a different way to motivate yourself, because that's just weird for me. I've never once liked it when my coach or manager is on the touchline yelling for me to do certain things. If anything, it's going to make me want to do my own thing, because why are you yelling at me right now? You've been yelling at me all week about it, so let me do what you've been yelling at me to do. So the whole like body language thing, I don't really buy into it. The results though, sure enough, you hold them to the candle for that, because that's just not good. And if this form does continue, it could mean the worst, but I don't see it getting there. Maybe a shot in the arm is what we need, a little injection of life, but then it just feels like that Jason Statham movie Crank. We're about to die, but we're not dead yet, because we keep just shooting ourselves in the arm with the Jose, with a Conte, with a Nuno, and at some point you're going to run out of juice.
I mean, there is an element of truth to that. If the board are fully behind him and they're going to genuinely improve the quality and the depth of the squad, then it does make sense to persevere through this period of adversity. Absolutely. And if you do, I've said this as well, if you do have to let him go, I don't think you can change direction again. You can't then suddenly go for an out and out pragmatist of a manager, because that for me it just doesn't make sense with the players that you've been buying. So whatever you do, you've got to try and move in a similar direction still, which I always felt that's what you lost the most after Poch. I think if you'd have gone from Poch to a more attacking style manager, I don't think you'd have had the last 2 or 3 years you did. I think it was that change from a sort of an attacking manager that played attractive football to suddenly having 2 or 3 that just wanted to sit back behind the ball and counter. And I don't think you had the squad that was built for that to begin with. There's a few comments here I'd love to get your take on. This here says, all that team needs is a week's rest and players back to be able to rotate. Do you agree that your players just need like a week off? Will you get a week off now before you play United?
Too bad we can't go fly to... Yeah, too bad we can't go fly to Dubai, and enjoy some of that Salt Bay meat. But some of us got to stay here and continue to put boots on the ground. That's what we'll do. I do agree we need some rest. We need some rotate. But I'll be honest, like a week's not going to bring back all the injuries that we have. A week, to me, I mean, players, Romero was training January 20-something. And then he's MIA now, and it's like he's just gone. And I've always said our physio's a black hole, and this summer we did change our head physio guy, so I thought things would change, and it's just more of the same. Rest, rotate, I don't know. I just think that we're not. Yeah, sure, rest. Let's say that.
Yeah. I mean, look, as a Man United fan, I've got absolutely zero confidence in beating you next week. You've beaten us twice already this season. So yeah, I'm not
We
going
both
in.
have zero confidence.
Yeah, it's like I'm not going into that game. If this was almost any other Man United team even in the last 11 years, nearly any of the other Man United teams, I'd probably be thinking, oh, is Spurs looking so I'm licking my lips. But with how inconsistent we've been, because I don't know whether we're going to get Man United at home performances or if we're going to get the Man United away from home. If we perform against you like we did away against Arsenal, away against City, away against Liverpool, I think we'll beat you. But it's if we put in one of them home performances, it's going to be crazy. So that it could actually be one of the most calamitous games for rivals that the Premier League has ever seen on Sunday between Man United and Spurs. It really, really could. This here says, yo, Jacob, why are you are not alone? We suck too. I think that's a Liverpool fan who is saying that. I think
big up Ozan Quebec, man.
Yeah, I mean, at least you didn't get knocked out by a team bottom of the championship who have only been in the 5th round 5 times in 139 years. It could be worse today. It could be worse in terms of results.
Well, what was that? Villa, they said some stat as soon as the game ended that Villa, the first time, are making it to this round of the FA Cup, and it's the first time in like 15 years or something.
12 years, I think I heard him say.
Yeah, something like that. So, time. You know, we're both out here helping people, and we helped Liverpool get to a final. We're helping Aston Villa achieve things that they ain't. You know, it's just not good. I feel like we're just a fish out of water. And so every now and then we get a little drop, and that keeps us alive. And
I hear that, mate.
I was feeling good about the Plymouth winning versus Liverpool, and I was like, ha. You know, if we go out to Villa, at least it's not so shameful, but it still feels like shit. I can't lie.
Yeah, when it actually happens, it helps if you go out first and then afterwards a worse result happens. But I remember when we got beat, when you guys smashed us, was it 5 or 6 when you beat us at Old Trafford? 6-1. And you smashed us, and I was gutted. And then later that night, Liverpool got beat 7-2. Now, it didn't take all the pain away, but it certainly helped. It certainly made me feel a little bit better that night. Please don't sack Ange yet. Relegation is something that is still left. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Thank you, Luke, for encouraging everyone to hit those like buttons for us. Listen, Jacob, absolute pleasure to sit here and speak to you. Same as you viewers. I'm actually off out now, people. I'm going out with the boys tonight to watch the Super Bowl final. So only a short one from us this evening. Thank you very much, mate, for coming on. I really appreciate it. Everyone who's in the comment section,
where'd everyone else go? I felt like John Travolta meme.
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to redirect this stream now. That's going to take you through to Hassam's channel for his show that's coming on at about 8:30. So get yourselves across to that. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon. Peace.